live at the door. All right. All right, you're good. You go inside.
Good morning, everyone. I have the lovely Ath from a bunch of different stuff. They're involved with Hunk of Plastic Records, Heartfelt Records, and Warm Walk Records. So, Ath, introduce yourself. Say hi.
Yeah, hello. My name's Af. As said before, I am a part of all three of those record labels, and I do those three and other various things within DIY. Beyond that, I'm 20. I'm a college student, and I just love doing record label stuff within the DIY space.
That is so. Is this something that you just kind of fell into? Like, where do you think that the love for doing this? I mean, being a part of three record labels is ridiculous. So, we're gonna totally dive into that. But look, give me kind of some history of how you got involved.
Yeah, so I didn't really get involved with DIY and like DIY music until I was a senior in high school when I was 17. And some friends I met on Discord introduced me to a bunch of all these DIY artists, and it kind of got me into collecting records and cassette tapes and whatnot, and seeing all of that stuff really just like sparked a love for it. And there was one evening I was buying like a crap ton of records and tapes off the owner of Hunk of Plastic, and his name's Jake. Shout out Jake.
Mhm.
I sent him a message and I was like, "Hey, how do I get involved with this stuff?" And he kind of like gave me a rundown and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna recommend you to just help out with some of the stuff we got going on." So that's how I kind of got started. I started slowly. I would just ship things for him and respond to emails here and there. But it's been over 3 years now since that happened, and now I mean I do so much more. I get releases going. I talk to artists, set up events, handle logistics, and all different kinds of stuff. You know, I just started small and got experience and worked my way up through Hunk of Plastic.
That has been that's it's kind of really admirable to like um I think that the threshold and the mountain that is in front of you when you ask to help. I think that a lot of people like what did that feel like to like finally push through that threshold to be like, hey, what do I get involved? How do I get involved with this stuff? Because I feel like a
Yeah,
lot of people don't even want to, or like at least don't know how to like pass through that threshold.
yeah, no, I was really anxious asking for the first time. And because it'd been on the back of my mind for a while. I'm like, I see all these records and tapes being made. How do I do this? How do I help? Because I went into it and I'm like, I know there's not money to be made in DIY. I'm doing this for the love of the game.
That's it,
Um,
baby.
and I, in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I know I'm gonna lose so much money on this, but it's gonna be so fun." And it's all for the experience. It's all for helping out DIY, all for the bands, all for all the fans of DIY and whatnot. But yeah, I was really nervous asking, and I just finally pushed through, and I got so much information back. I think if anyone's in like a similar situation, don't feel afraid to ask. Like most people I've ever met in DIY are like the nicest people I've ever met and are willing to give you information and answer your questions. You're not annoying anyone. You're genuinely interested in DIY and want to know how you can help, which I think is a very admirable thing that you want to help all these people.
I completely agree. I think that, it's community first. I mean, um, our this whole DIY thing, this commune-esque thing that we're all a part of. I'm so inspired by everyone that just kind of just jumps in and helps and jumps in and tosses money into kind of the thing that feeds into this machine that hey, we got to get these tapes made, to get these vinyls made. Everyone's kind of just doing this helping hand thing. Now, you are a part of three labels, so kind of you're pretty higher up with that record label with Hunk of Plastic. What's your relationship with the other two?
So Heartfelt Records started after a now defunct label called Semi-Collective Records was ending. So myself and then another person named Dan were involved in that label and we'd help out, but we knew it was on the way out and we had some differences with the owners. So we decided to split and we're like, hey, we're gonna make our own thing, do things our way. And last year now Heartfelt Records came to be, and really it's a US based label. Hunk of Plastic is a mainly UK based label. I just help out with all the US stuff since there's so
Cool.
much to deal with that. But Heartfelt is a US based label, and we've just hit the ground running. We've done several vinyl run now, and we've done several tape runs. We actually announced a tape run today as that's being recorded.
Congrats.
Yeah, and I'm so happy. It's with for a band called Delirium out of Wichita. Love them. They're so great. But we've done vinyl for bands like Train Breaks Down, Dead Calm, Sundots, and then we've done tapes for people like Delirium, Every Dog Has Its Day. We've
Mhm.
done palm fret tapes, do a lot of palm fret stuff.
I love Pomfret.
And I do too. They're based in the city I'm in, and I'm their quote unquote label manager. I've been helping them out with a lot of stuff. Love Pomfret. Shout them out.
Yeah, I talked with them
Um,
like a week, I think last week.
yeah.
They'll have an episode come out. But that is that's so cool. So where are you based out of?
So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri,
Cool.
but
Okay, cool.
right now I'm living in Springfield, Missouri, which is
Okay,
where I go to
cool.
college. Um, Another thing to add on to that heartfelt stuff. So me and him do that, and then we brought a third person name on named Mark. Shout out Mark. Mark and Dan are awesome. I love all the work that they do, and Heartfelt would not be where it is without them. So us three working together, we're able to do some incredible things on that label.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you're doing, and then you're also a part of something called Warm Walk.
Yeah, Warm Walk Records. That was started by my homie Colby. The origin of that record label is kind of funny. It started because of camping in Alaska. They got massively screwed over by Sleepy Clown Records,
Sure.
and they were like, "Hey, we need a label." And they asked Colby, was like, "Hey, can you do it?" And that's how Warm Walk was created. And then a few months after, or may have been more than a few months after its creation, but sometime after its creation, Colby brought me on because he's like, "Hey, I have no clue what I'm doing, and you have all this label experience. Come help us." And I'm like, "All right, I'm in." But Warmwalk's ran by several people. You got Colby, Aiden, who does a lot of releases. There's Zach, who's our audio engineer guy. I love Zach so much. Then, of course, there's me. There's another guy named Cooper, love Cooper, and then there's Jesse, who's otherwise known as I Dialed Your Number.
Hmm.
She and we've done a bunch of stuff on that label too, but the main big thing we do on that label is camping in Alaska related stuff.
So you mentioned that there's like a lot of people that are involved with Warm Records,
Yeah.
including like an audio engineer. Or so
Yes.
so let's kind of go through the Warm Walk. I want to kind of break down like what is happening inside of the labels. So let's
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
We'll go backwards through them. So Warm Walk in itself. Tell me what the factory looks like inside.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with me. I do a good bit of consulting for them. Like if they have like a random label question or if they need an answer to like how something's ordered or like how to properly ship something, they come to me and they let me know. I'm there as like a resource for them to ask any questions they have.
Hmm.
Since it's all of their first time running a label, a lot of them don't have that experience. So I'm happy to help out there. Jesse, I dialed your number. Really, really awesome emo project. She does a lot of like email work. She like will help answer like all the emails, clear our inbox, clear our Instagram DMs, and I love her so much for that. And then we do tapes and stuff for her band on that, so she helps make sure those releases are up to par on her level. And recently she did I believe it was her first like led release for a band called Star Student. She did tapes for them, and that was really
Cool.
dope
Love
to
them.
see. So yeah, she has started doing releases, but she helps a lot with like emails and other stuff like that. And she also designed our website. So props
Cool.
to her for that. Then there's Zach. He's our audio engineer. He's done a release here or there, but he really specializes if we need something mastered, like for vinyl, you have to get the record itself specifically mastered for vinyl. So
Hmm.
he'll do that if we got a vinyl project going on. He kills it every time. And
Cool.
then if we're working with a band and for a release and they need that release mastered or mixed, he'll do that for them too. So he's on the team and he is one of the greatest audio engineers that I know. He's so kind and I love working with him. Aiden, he does a lot of releases and he does a lot of shipping. His releases more are turned toward the emo rap side of things because we've started doing emo rap stuff for artists like Drew the Architect. We're working with a bunch of this group of artists called Team Sesh. We've been working with a lot of their members, and he's been really focused on that. I love Aiden for doing that side of music. I think it's a cool little addition to Warm Walk as a whole. And then there's Coop. Coop will help with shipping, but I know Coop's in a band and he spends a lot of his time with that band. So Coop's just there to help out where needed. I love Coop. And then Colby, of course, the man who runs it all. He'll help out with releases. He'll do shipping. He does all the back end stuff. I cannot say enough good words about Colby. He has been such an amazing person to work with.
There's such a interesting dynamic because it feels like um, there's something really fascinating about the label in the inner workings of stuff sometimes where like when you're a kid and imagine like there's a part of it that's like this is the closest to what it's like living in a treehouse with your friends where there's like the imagination of you're 8 years old and I'm gonna run away from home. I'm gonna live in a treehouse with my friends, and this is like what it would look like. It feels like there's not like everyone has their specializations, but everyone's just there to help out. And then like that, I don't know, like first why that imagery is just so in my head hearing that because it feels like um, it's kind of just fun to be involved with all this stuff even if there's like yeah there's a packing issue we gotta get together and like start wrapping all this stuff there's like these you get to do this stuff with your friends though so like there's something
Yeah,
really
yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to work with these people because we're all friends. We all like we all talk to each other about stuff that's outside of the label as well, and it's cool to just have a project or just something that we're all working on and that we can all take pride in. And yeah, everyone has their specializations, but as time goes on, people learn how to do other stuff within the label as well. So everyone's picking up random skills here or there, and it just helps grow them as a person. And it's a lot of teamwork.
Hmm.
Doing this stuff alone, I've done it alone before. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. So having a team of people to work with is so fun.
Now, when it comes to the other two labels, how are you
Mhm.
involved with them?
Yeah, so Heartfelt, we don't, we're not big on like titles within
Hmm.
DIY labels, I guess, but for this, I guess I would be co-founder, co-owner, put quotes on those.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure.
yeah, with Dan and with that, I mean, I do a lot in that label. I'll get releases, I'll do design work, I'll ship things, make things stuff are ordered, social media engagement. I mean, really anything you can think of, I'll do that. But so does Dan and Mark. We all kind of do all the same stuff. But if it's like a release that I got with a band, I'll focus on that release and I'll make sure it's done. And if I need like opinions or help from them, I'll ask them and they'll help me and give me opinions. And same for them. If they're doing a project and they need help or an opinion from me or someone else, they'll ask and we'll give it to them. So Heartfelt's a bit different than Warm Walk, seeing as we kind of all specialize in the same thing, but we all make it work, you know. We just work good together as a team and we're able to get out the releases we want to do for the label.
So it sounds like Heartfelt is closer to you, three people that
It's
are, sorry, what was that?
no, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's just three of us.
Okay, cool. So it's like three of y'all that are all like kind of copies of each other to do where it's like it's like, hey, instead of just having one person run it, now there's three people, and you're doing your own releases too. You're just all
Yeah,
doing it under the moniker of Heartfelt,
yeah,
whereas Warm Walk is closer to everyone is doing stuff to help one big project.
yeah. Yeah. I that's a good take on it. I agree with that. That's what goes on
That's
between
interesting. I
the
like
difference
that.
between those labels.
Like, so as a co-founder and as a consultant, um there's, I would love to talk about the concept of like the differences of these things and what's important. What are you trying to, like, when you're involved in Warm Walk, what is there like an ethos difference in the ethos, and even like model, where you're trying to like, what are you trying to convey with a Warm Walk release that's different from a Heartfelt release?
I mean, when it comes to the ethos and like the message both labels are trying to get out, I think they're very similar. It's all DIY. Both labels want to help these bands, help these artists get out there, have physical media, make some money off of it, and like just be able to put the stuff they've created onto a physical form. I just believe the way each label does it is a bit different since Warmwalk has a bigger team with people who specialize in different things. A lot of people can help on one project and be able to pump it out. While Heartfelt on the other side still wants to do the same thing, it's just one or two people can take care of it instead of four or five.
So
But
like, let's say a band approaches, uh and I'm focusing on these two specifically because you kind of are, there's for a Hunk of Plastic, it seems like there's a person that is running that, has a very
mm,
specific thing, and you just are the American side of it.
yeah, we can go into more Hunk of Plastic later.
Okay,
It is
cool.
a bit different though, yes.
So, okay, so a band approaches you personally,
Mhm.
and is there a moment where, what is kind of a deciding factor if you decide, like, if you pick like, oh, I think this would be better as a heartfelt release versus a warm rock release? What would be like the determining factor for that?
So in my mind, there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Hmm.
One is, hey, what releases does Heartfelt going on right now
Uh-huh.
compared to Warm Walks? Is one like backloaded with releases right now, and is the other like have like space available on the calendar to fit a release in. I
Hmm.
think that's the first thing I look in, and I'm like, hey, what out of these labels, like who has enough like time and resources to put towards that release? Because I want to make sure any release is getting the like utmost attention and care that it should. I don't want to put it on someone's plate that's already overflowing where it's going to get delayed. I want to get it out as fast as humanly possible. So I think I look at that and then I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, which label has more time? And then I can kind of go from there. But another thing I really look on is like the genre and the specific artist or band that it is, because Warm Walk aligns them more with, yeah, they do emo stuff, they do emo rap stuff. So if it's like an emo release, or something like that, it's good for Warm Walk, but so like Heartfelt does emo stuff, but we also do like shoegaze and indie rock. So if it's like a different like indie or shoegaze kind of release, I'm like, oh, Heartfelt should have it. But another thing I also look at is this artist that we're releasing have like connections to other artists we've released in the past. So if there's like these two bands and they're friends and we've done tapes for band number one in the past and band number two is like, hey, can you do tapes for us? We saw that you did tapes for so and so. We're like, yeah, put it on that label because they're already friends. That's kind of what we did with the Delirium tapes we announced today. They're homies with Pomfret, and I'm like, hey, they're already homies. I'm gonna put it on the same label, you know?
Hmm.
So I think it changes every time an artist asks me if for a release. It's a lot of just circumstances. It just depends on the circumstances of everything. It's
There's
ever changing.
there's a kind of a funny thing in my head, and there's in my first thought about hearing being involved in like lots of different things. I was like, oh, I wonder what the difference would be if it's music based or if it's work based. And I think everything's closer to work based, but also there seems to be maybe the difference. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but it feels like Heartfelt is closer to like the boutique experience where you're like, okay, well, listen, I'll do the whole thing for this because I want to make sure it gets done. I like these guys that much. It's like the threshold has to hit a specific thing where you're like, cool, I'll be the one person handling this entire project. Whereas the warm walk gets kind of, you get to go, okay, well, here's this team that's working on that and they can take on more. Whereas
Yeah.
you get to kind of focus on like, oh, I have this clear idea in the other one. So it's like a boutique versus kind of a factory experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good take on it. I mean, we on Heartfelt still help each other out with different projects, if
Hmm.
needed, but a lot of the time, if it's like a tape project, one person can just do that by themselves. And yeah, I mean, you get all the final renders and we send it to the group chat and you're like, hey, this all look good? And everyone's like, yep, looks fine. And then
Cool.
you just roll with it. And then warm walk, I mean, there's just multiple stages of getting opinions from everyone
Hmm.
and then having people do specific tasks like, Zach, can you audio engineer this? Af, can you help do design work for this? Jesse, can you talk to the artist about this? And it's a lot of people helping each other, but everyone's able to help each other. It's like these people can work really well together. It's not like a bunch of people who hate each other working together. I mean, that's why it goes so smoothly.
Yeah, I love that. It seems that there's, definitely two different processes, two different models.
Hmm.
And it's nice to see that there are minute details in like the minutia between the thing, like the two labels are very interesting. And uh here's kind of, the pullback, to zoom out a little further. One of the things that I find really fascinating, let's like take what happened with Thumbs Up.
Yeah.
um with
Yeah.
Thumbs Up was, a personal, one person's personal project. I have no idea if they were just one person. I'm pretty sure it was just one. And they tried to do the whole thing. And there's a lot of issues with that and there's pros and there's cons of doing everything by yourself. I bet you know that as well, where it's like
Yes,
yeah, you
yes, I
can
do.
like there's probably a way like, well, it all lands on me, so I'm held accountable and I get to do things my way, which is a
Mhm.
positive thing. Where you're like, I get to make sure if something has to fall through the cracks, I'd rather it fall through the cracks because of me than having it fall through the cracks of somebody else. So there's a lot of positives and negatives about doing it yourself. But one of the interesting things that I found from uh, what happened with Thumbs Up, like as the dust were clearing, um, do you have an opinion on the result of that? People saying, well, I guess I'll start a record label. As that is like the result, do you think that that is like what do you think should be the as the dust settles from that thing, what do you think people should take away from like that whole thing?
Yeah, I witnessed all of that go down on Twitter, which was interesting. And I also talked a little with Aren't We Amphibians about everything going on and gave them the knowledge I had about some of the questions they had about the pressing plan. And seeing it, all that happen was really unfortunate. You're seeing this stuff happen with labels a lot more. Um, and I think a lot of it is due to misallocation of funds.
Mhm.
And a lot of what these labels try to do is they'll do a pre-order of one merch run and it doesn't sell too well and they don't really make enough money to cover it. So then they'll do another pre-order that'll sell better to cover the previous one. But then they
Mhm.
got to do another pre-order to cover the new pre-order, and it's a never-ending cycle until something big like a pressing plant shuts down, and then you're out of a lot of money. But I think everyone's response to it about wanting to maybe start a record label to replace it, what I have to say is be cautious. It's a lot of time and a lot of stress. It is a lot of fun, but it's not all pros. And what you need to know if you're going to go into making a record label is you can't be in it for the money. You're not going to make any money. Um, that's just that can't be an expectation within DIY, unfortunately. And you also have to have like a stable income or a good amount of savings as like a safety net just in case something goes wrong. You need
Yeah.
to be able to be held accountable and pay it off or refund customers to make sure that no one's being basically like scammed out of a lot of money. And I think what you should do is if you have questions, ask another label, become friends with people who are involved with labels and kind of see what they're doing. If you have the opportunity, maybe like shadow one of them, like I did for a while, just to see what's going on, how like the whole operation works. But you just need to be really careful when starting a DIY label. You can't be like 16 in high school without a job, just going out and doing it, because the money and bills will unfortunately add up a lot, um, unless you miraculously go like 5 for 5 on all your releases and you're selling out everything.
Yeah. It's there's a I've been thinking and kind of just I've been, sitting back and zooming out and watching the whole situation. I found the response to be the response of the thing happening going, well, I'll start a record label. I find that part to be, naive and weird, because it can be like, first of all, it's not easy and you're diminishing it if you think that you could just go ahead and start one.
Mhm.
Which can be is if you've seen that, does that ever feel frustrating to you? Where it's like, yes, I've worked, pretty hard to get to where you are, and it's cool to see people wanting to do that, but it's not easy. And does that ever feel diminishing to you?
It doesn't feel diminishing to me. I will see it happen and I honestly just feel bad for the people who do it, because I'll see some kids start up a record label and it'll go for a few months, and the next thing you know, it's shut down because they
Mhm.
either it was too much work and they didn't want to do it anymore, or they had money troubles.
Mhm.
Um, but it, in my honest opinion, right now is very tough time to start a record label just due to how expensive everything is. And I think it's harder and harder to get artists and bands to agree to do stuff with you if you're just like coming out of the woodworks. Hey, we're a new record label. We have no releases. And then you go and talk to this like massive emo band. It's like, hey, can we do tapes for you? They're going to be like, hey, you don't really have any credibility. And I think a lot of people have the expectation of getting these huge releases as soon as they start out. What the advice I have is when you're first starting out, do some tapes and CDs for like one of your friends' bands or like a local band, and like
Mhm.
put something out there that gives you a base of credibility. I know when I was first starting doing stuff, I was doing a lot smaller artists and I was just doing some of my friends' stuff. And over time, you get more and more opportunities as you meet more people, and you'll have like some sort of a reputation. And say your friend's band recommends you to do tapes to a bigger band, and that bigger band's like, "Hey, yeah, you guys can do it. You guys seem pretty respectable, and my band friend recommended me to you." So I think people just need to be lower their expectations a little bit when first starting
Yeah.
a record label. You're not going to get a hit release right off the bat, unfortunately. But it does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience, and just like craft your skill, take time, learn, meet some people, talk.
What would you say is the best advice for like finding the right tape makers, the right vinyl stuff? Where like what are you looking for from a company, and what are some companies that you could shout out for those kinds of people like that are trying to start up these things? Like what would you say is the best places to start looking?
Yeah, I'll kind of go just by like physical media form for this. So we'll
Hmm.
start with tape. If you're doing a shorter run of tapes, you can dub them yourself at home.
Hmm.
If you have like an okay tape deck, just like get your laptop, you can buy an adapter and plug it in and then record over a tape. You can buy blank tapes online for fairly cheap, and then there's like different print shops. Usually you can find a local one that will print J cards for you and whatnot, and do like a run of like 20, 30 homemade dub tapes to like start off. It's cheap. They're not going to sound the best, but like it's cool to have, it's cool to do, and it's cheap. But if you're starting to get into the area where you're doing like 50 or more tapes per run, uh, I only do 50 or more tapes per run now. That's like my minimum.
Hmm.
So we get them professionally made. The number one place that I use is based in Canada. They're called Duplication CA, Duplication Canada. They are great. Their team is awesome, and they have a just like a online quote builder where you can select everything you want and it'll price it out for you right there and then. They're great. I cannot recommend them enough. I know they just opened up an office in Ohio where they're
Cool.
also doing stuff there too within the United States. So that's cool to see. Another tape duplication place in the US is actually in Springfield, Missouri. I've only used them once. They're the National Audio Company, I believe. I know they have tape minimums of 50, and you have to email them to get a quote. So maybe not for your first time getting tapes professionally made use them, but I know they're another option within the US. And then if you're over in Europe or in the UK, there's a UK uh, tape plant called Band CDs. They do CDs and tapes. I've used them a ton for Hunk of Plastic projects, and they've been nothing but great too. So those are like my three shout outs for tape duplication.
Perfect.
Vinyl, it's a very scary thing to get into. It's very expensive. There's a lot that can go wrong within it. Like we in a Hunk of Plastic got 500 black vinyl made for an artist called Sign Crushes Motorist and his tour. And when they were supposed to show up to the tour date, they went missing. So we had 500 records missing, and it took us a few months to find them, and now they're all sitting under my bed in my apartment. But stuff like that can happen, and it's very scary. So be prepared to have a heart attack when you go into vinyl. But in the US, I just worked with Hellbender Vinyl. They're based out of Pittsburgh. Oh, greatest pressing plant I have ever used. Their quality is super good. I've never had customer service, such a good customer service experience with a pressing plant like I had with them. They actually saved us because we were having a Camping in Alaska vinyl run go through Softwax Records, which is the one that went out of business. So we got everything moved over to Hellbender, and they were able to finish everything up for us and really work with us to make sure everything was or happened correctly.
That's
So I
cool
love
to
them.
know. That's cool to know a little bit more of the lore of what happened with that. So that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had two vinyl run going through them, and October 31st, they sent an email, hey, we're declaring for bankruptcy. And I'm like, okay, another
Fuck.
problem. So we didn't, none of the plants got their money back. So everything that was paid and down paid was not refunded.
Yeah.
But we were a lot of these labels that had runs going through them were able to relocate them, which was good. Um, in the UK and Europe, if you're looking for a pressing plant, I recommend Dunk. They're out of Germany. They make some of the craziest vinyl variants I've ever seen, and their quality is top notch. And then there's also Package Sounds, which is also in Europe or the UK. It's one of the two, and they've done phenomenal work for us as well. And then there's CDs, I guess. I don't really like CDs, but
CDs,
uh,
CDs are interesting. I feel like it's like just make them yourself.
yeah, you can make them yourself, but sometimes we get to order a few hundred.
Yeah, true.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a place called Atomic Disc. I've never seen a plant make CDs, 300 CDs in 2 days before.
That's crazy.
So
What the fuck?
so respect to them, love them. They're a bit pricier, but if you need stuff quick, use them. That's my one shout out for the CDs.
That's fucking cool. Atomic Disc. I like something that I find really fascinating about like just the music part of everything is everything's named so cool.
I
Uh
know.
like
Yeah.
except for like National Audio Company, like boring. But like it sounds just like old and weird, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Hellbender is like, all right, sick. Like you have the
Yeah.
chance to like do like ridiculous naming convention.
There's some cool names out there for these manufacturers.
It's awesome. I love it. It's just so interesting to hear like this side of the whole thing. Um,
Yeah.
the that is kind of, I think that's, you kind of gave a great overview of like what it's like to be in DI. What would you say is like your favorite thing about being on this side of the whole ecosystem?
I think my favorite thing is when I see a band's reaction to tapes or vinyl actually being made and they get to hold it for the first time. And a lot of them are like, holy shit, my art creation that I recorded and took so much time on is in a physical format now, and they get so much joy and so much happiness from it. And I think they get a lot of just like it's a lot of like relief of actually getting recognition for their work and me being able to help them get that and like help create it for them and see them have that reaction is super dope. I also like seeing the reaction of when people like fans get like tapes or vinyl in the mail or buy it at a show and then they like post it on Instagram and tag us. I'm like, awesome. This person's so happy about this product that they were able to get from their favorite band. That makes me happy that I was able to get like help contribute to them getting that happiness. I think
Yeah.
I get a lot of just my favorite part of DIY is seeing other people get joy and happiness from everything.
So you're kind of a young cat
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in this whole thing. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, you're 20, you're
Yeah.
imagine you're 25, or you're in college right now. First of all, what are you going to college for?
Yeah, so I'm doing a double major in supply chain management and entertainment management.
There, okay, cool. So
Yeah,
you're
so
doing, okay, cool. So it's like you're going all in.
yeah, no, I'm in this label stuff for the long run. Um, in 5 years, I would like to see myself with a larger independent label that I can make a salary off of.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to make a buttload of money, but
Hmm.
something that can pay my bills.
Hmm.
Either that or I've recently been toying with the idea of going to like some kind of independent music group that manages bands and artists and whatnot. Because I have been doing a little, like a light trial experience run, you can say, of band management for Pomfret. I've been
Cool.
helping Jack with some stuff, and
That's why they
that
tagged you. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
I
we're all
get why they
homies.
did this. Okay. I get it. I fucking
They
understand all of it now.
yeah,
I see.
after they tagged me in that tweet, they were staying in my house like 2 days later
Shut
while they
up.
were
That's
on
so fucking
tour.
funny.
Yeah, I got to join them for a few dates on their tour and help them with that and just see how everything went on. And I think the band management stuff is so cool
Hmm.
and I kind of love it. So I think I may want to go into managing bands a little,
I like
but
your
we'll see.
entrepreneurial side of it is it's refreshing, really. It's there's I've always found the entrepreneurship of DIY to be really fascinating because it's
Hmm.
like it comes from it's a little bit of living in like a rural digital landscape, where versus like the corporate city digital landscape where it's like
Yeah.
you're there's a lot of like it feels a little horse and buggy-ish about it, but there's a lot of like good, interesting labor that you can do on this side to like, and everyone's super grateful to want to be able to do this. And I think that like, uh, I think the concept of you being like consulting and doing all these things because you seem very fucking intelligent. You've been involved in this stuff for so long. You're young as fuck. Like you seem to be kind of like where you're going to be when you're like 30.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that is like I think that you are very rare in that. And I
Yeah.
just want to commend you for that because
Thank you.
it's massive. That's massive to
No,
like
no, I really appreciate that. I think it was like a year and a half ago. I was like just starting college and I was like, yeah, I'm all in on this, I guess. And kind of just put my college trajectory to be able to graduate with degrees that will help me with this stuff.
well, I mean, I like that you're also trying to do this thing that you love and wrap the things around it. Like
Yeah.
so like there's me, this is music and the podcast for me is all on the side. I have a career. I work in a bunch of different stuff for podcasting and just customer support and
Hmm.
just I've been working in apps for forever. So I have this career, and this is just like my supplemental shit that I love.
Yeah.
And so like I'm wrapping my boring corporate life with the things that I love, where you are gonna be like, you know, you get to wrap the cool thing you love with the cool thing you love. Uh,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
really you're very lucky to like know what you wanted, and so you get to do that.
Yeah, I was like talking to myself and I'm like, I cannot do a boring corporate job. I'm like, I
Mhm.
got to figure out a way how to make this my life at some point. And I don't know, that's what I'm doing. And it's fun. And these labels have been such a great thing for me to be able to really like go forward with that passion and that goal on it. Like Hunk of Plastic, I think it helping with that label has like really driven me to want a career in this stuff because
I love it.
I believe I've done the most uh like rewarding and accomplishment related stuff with Hunk of Plastic
Yeah, like you
personally.
set the bar high for yourself as well.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Do
Yeah. Killer, man.
can I go into Hunk of Plastic a little
Yeah,
bit? I
why don't
know
you
we were
dive in?
talking.
Why don't you dive into Hunk of Plastic and kind of what you're
Yeah.
working on?
So Hunk of Plastic is a UK based label, but we have such a big US audience as well that Jake really brought me onto the team and was like, "Hey, you're handling all the US logistics now." And I'm
Holy
like,
shit.
"Okay." So he does all the UK and international stuff. I do all the US stuff. It's Jake and I, and then we have Lockie. He does a lot of our design and graphic design stuff. He is so talented in that, and he'll help with emails and some other admin stuff. I love Lockie so much. He is one of my best friends. And then there's also Yui. Yui is not too involved in the label, but they will help with more electronic releases that we do. They are really tapped into that scene and know so much more than I could ever know about electronic music. But Jake and I really tag team a lot of what we do. When it comes, and Lockie too. Lockie helps with so much. We work on, it's like Warm Walks again. We kind of all work on releases together and we'll help with like design work, uh, where and when we're gonna sell it, and then how we're gonna do it. But we've done some pretty big things because of artists like Sign Crush's Motorists. We found him when he was Itsy Bitsy on Spotify and had like 30,000 monthly listeners, and now he's got like over 4 million, I think, which is
Whoa.
fucking crazy to think about. But I know we helped get some tapes made for his big US tour last summer, which I drove 13 hours to North Carolina to go to one of the dates to say hi to him. It was a great show. It was worth it.
Oh, that's
But
fucking cool.
I know we have done so much vinyl for him, and we've gotten some of that vinyl into independent record stores across the US. We had Rough Trade had their own exclusive variant, and then Urban Outfitters also took an exclusive variant. So we were able to get this record into an Urban Outfitter store, which is hilarious to me
Yeah,
and
that's
just
huge.
awesome.
But I mean, to walk into Urban Outfitters and seeing that, did you get a chance to do that where you got to see the record
So, so
and the
not with
records?
Urban Outfitters, but I've had some of my like close in real life friends be at a record store and send me like an Instagram message, and it'll just be a picture of one of his records in the record shop, and I'm like, holy shit, I
I,
helped make that.
that's huge. There's just something I think that when it comes to this DIY thing, like I think there's just when you do a corporate job, uh like there's these moments of like proud of yourself, like where you get the chills and you're like, oh, things are making
Yeah,
like and in a corporate job, I feel like those moments are just so few and far between where you're like, oh, I have to help work on this standard of procedure. Oh, it's finally out. And then in this paragraph, they took some of the sentences that I wrote where you're like, okay, cool. There's like this little thing that I helped at my job or
yeah,
this thing or like part of this presentation is made, I had to go present that. Like there's these so small minuscule things that you have to like, that's what has to feed you while you're doing like your shitty corporate job. But like in DIY, it's such a fucking physical thing anyways. So like when I got my vinyls and tapes made from We're Trying Records, like that was just to even see the distance in between me writing those songs and then having them delivered in a physical format and the distance between that, like it just feels massive. And like to see like the work that you do almost kind of really quickly can become a physical thing that you get to touch and hold. I think that's the best part about the relationship between band and label is you get to
Yeah.
combine and close the distance between those dreams.
Yeah, yeah, just having something physical that both the band and the label has come together and made is just such an awesome thing. And I mean, seeing it in stores is just like a whole nother thing. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been going to record stores for years. I never thought something I helped make would be actually be in here, you know? It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I feel like it's just it's a I feel like kind of it's a lonely experience because there are not that many people that get to have experienced that.
Yeah,
Like I feel
yeah.
like it's almost weirdly unrelatable. Like like
Yeah.
that's it's kind of like I've seen that where there's kind of this moment of like, oh, this is amazing, and then there's like I don't know how to explain this to others. like,
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I
like
get
I'm alone in how I feel about this.
it. Yeah, no. That was just a big moment. I know everyone on the Hunk of Plastic team when we started seeing records in stores, we all started like freaking out. We're like, wow, this is big. But Hunk of Plastic as a whole has grown a lot in the past few years. I know we just hit 7,000 Instagram followers, which is like
Wow.
crazy to think about. I'm like, when I joined this label, it had like because I didn't help create Hunk of Plastic. I joined a year or so after its creation. It had like 2,000 followers. And I mean, since then, over the few years, we've gained 5,000. I'm like, dang, okay.
Yeah, you're
Um,
doing good work.
yeah, I think we're at a point where we're starting to do a lot bigger projects for bigger names. Like Lower Town just went on started a tour yesterday in Seattle. They're a pretty established band, and we got 300 CDs made for that tour. So a lot of these bigger artists now are reaching out to Hunkle Plastic on their on by themselves, or like their management will be like, "Hey, we saw you did so and so for this artist. Would you be able to do something similar for us?" And it's given us a lot more opportunities to work with these bigger names within not only DIY but just like other music spaces. I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of indie people, and just like some other like alt rock bands and stuff like that. But we know our DIY roots, and we still do as much as we can for DIY, and we still do DIY releases and stuff like that. And shameless little promo for something I run. Every year I put on an online charity event online where I get a bunch of artists to come together, send me a pre-recorded set, and then I'll stream it live on like Twitch for a night where I show everyone's all these bands pre-recorded set, and I have like this huge cool poster made, and we'll do pre-orders of the poster for people to buy, and all 100% of the profit goes to charity. And Hunk of Plastic is like the main one of the big main label sponsors behind it. And this summer will be my third year doing it, which is fun to think about. And
Yeah, dude,
I'm
it's really cool.
I am in like full war mode getting this thing prepared. Like I have the like dedicated or like set artist and band list of everyone who's going to be on it. Just all the artwork is being made right now, and it'll be announced sometime in like June, and then it's going to happen in July. But it's always for charity, and it's just a big event for all these fans of DIY to come together and watch their favorite bands or their favorite artists play a little 15-20 minute set online that they don't have to pay and come and watch, but they can donate if they want to.
It's beautiful. What a beautiful thing to do for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What is it called?
So The first year I did it, I called it Rhyme or Reason because it was a part of a label called Reasonable Records that I helped
Cool.
co-found. I'm no longer a part of it though. Best wishes to them though. They're awesome. They do
Cool.
really cool stuff. Last year or last summer, we called it URL Fest.mp4.
That's so good.
Which is funny. I actually have the poster right next to me, so I'm kind of just looking at it as a for a reference. Because the posters we print out are so dope. We make them 18 by 24, so they're pretty big.
Yeah, it's huge.
And some of the people we had on it last year were cool. We had Michael Cera Palin on it, which was big for us. Camping in Alaska was in it. And then a bunch of other like emo and screamo bands like Graves, Opposition Dolls,
Hmm.
I Dialed Your Number was on it. And then we also had some like indie bands on it, like Tamachi and Sundots and all kinds of different bands on it. And then this year, I believe we're just calling it URL Fest 2025.
It's perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that I think that it's also feels like it's settling into like its yearly name.
Yeah, yeah. So when I started it, I was kind of like, oh, I just want to do this. I didn't think I was going to make it a yearly thing. But then right after the event ended and like a few months later, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do this again.
Yeah.
So I did it again. And now I'm here. I'm like, you know what? We're just going to make this a yearly thing. I'm on year 3 now. I'm like, I may as well just do it every year.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm obsessed with that. It's so first things first, congratulations just on everything. 20 years old, getting involved with that. I am literally 17 years older than you. And I'm and I've only been doing this for like a few years. So like seeing someone know what they want to do and to do it, like huge fucking props to you, big dog.
Thank you. Thank you so
It's
much.
it's so cool. That is kind of basically the time that I wanted to know if you wanted to play anything from this thing because as I'm just kind of starting to talk to record labels, I'm not sure. Usually when I'm talking to bands, I'm like, okay, what song do you want to hear? So what can I play for you that would be cool to have like an introduction that would be almost a reflection of you?
Um, so I was just thinking about what I wanted to play throughout this, and I do just want to play one of the songs from the tape I released today, Delirium.
Okay,
'Cause
cool.
I think they're so cool, and I've met all the members, and they're so nice, and I think they deserve to be heard. So it's called Your Favorite Clothes by Delirium.
Split dyed hair in the morning light. Looks like love if it wasn't so bright. She saw death in me, pulled me to safety from a set of car keys. To put on your favorite clothes, drove 1,000 miles to your parents' home. We talked for hours about the constellations on my arms and highways. Red light lights that said goodbye past the state line. I knew this was it, but at least I tried. It's been a while since you came around. Still find your hair on my clothes. Your hair on my clothes. If I could go back and change anything at all, I'd put my muzzle on and the highways red like lights that said goodbye.
Your Favorite Clothes by Delirium. Doug, Af, thank you so much for fucking hopping on. You just have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good one.
You too.